All right. So, sorry, the slides are in French, but I've heard that in the audience there are some people that don't speak French, so I will continue in English. Okay. Today I will tell you my story about how I went through burnout because I thought it was a very good idea to share what I went through and how I succeeded to get out of it in a tech world where it's rather often that people are under pressure. Perfect. It's not the right version, but that's all right. So, because I want to first start with my story. So, what happened to me? So, first, in hindsight, I have been through those different steps. So it was at the moment where I didn't know yet that I had burnout. It was before the crash. Okay? So you feel actually reduced energy. In the morning, you don't feel as motivated as usual to find the energy to go to work. So you can to go back to bed or sit on the couch first before leaving. And even on the way to work, it starts to be harder and harder. Even at the end of that period where you are not aware of what happens, I call it the lowering of the immunity system because you start having more unexpected disease or other increased pace as usual, okay? And then you have the sentiment that something is not going right. And then, even if I started before to have psychological help, because I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was, so you start looking at something else at work, because you think that everything is normal. One day, everything collapsed, actually. So I was at work, and earlier than usual, I start late, I go late. So what for me it was early, but it was like 5 p.m. I just shut everything down and I went to home. But for the others, 5 p.m. was still normal, so it was not really obvious. Okay, but then when you get home and you think it's impossible to go back, the first thing you start to feel is culprit. Okay, and because you don't know yet, but you have some idea, but you are not sure. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do. So here starts the journey in a more retrospective way. So I did that, but it's not really obvious that you have to do it. Since I felt culprit, but still I thought there was something wrong. First thing you need to do is go to your doctor and have a certificate. This is your house doctor that will do that. Nobody else will do that. Because psychologists, they are not allowed to do it. And if you go to the ISTF or STM for the ones that are not working in a bank, they don't deliver it either, okay? So there are two things that you need to do. I had already a psychologist. You need to find one. And find one with whom it clicks. You need to go to the STM or ASTF to have it validated. And by the way, when you go there, you first get a first meeting with somebody that is not psychologist. It might be just a doctor. And then you get 6 free sessions to find a psychologist that will help you. Doctors are not aware and are not sensible, and it might be harsh. The first meeting, for me at least, it was really horrible because they tell you that the world is like that, and if something needs to change, it's you. So, and when you start to have a burnout, when you're in the very beginning, you don't have the energy and you don't have the resilience to fight against such information. right away. But then you get 6 free sessions, and the people are really, really good. Great. Ah, cool. Pourquoi ça ne va pas? Okay, so this is your first steps. They are not really in order, but so the Association pour la santé au travail, STM or ASTF, you go there, you have your first meeting. They will hand you a test. This is the Maslach test, and this test you can also download it. So you can also do it yourself. It's not completely the same. They have a bit fewer questions, but in the end, you have almost the same result. And then at least you have the validation on where you are in a scale from 0 to 10, or it's another scale, but from 0 to 10, within the danger zone or not. Okay, and then you will be handled accordingly. And then, of course, you get advice. Okay, but then that is the first step. Once you have tackled the treatment and the validation that you are in a burnout, you need to take into account, because it was a shock for me actually, when you go on the side of the CNS, you become aware that the CNS is there to control the expense of the money of the people, of the state. Okay, they are not there to make sure that you go better. They are not there for health, they are there for finances. So when you are sick, any sickness, but also burnout, you are not allowed to leave home. You have to stay home, and you have to stay home between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. If the doctor says you're allowed to go out, you are allowed to go out between 10 and noon, 10 a.m. and noon, and then between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. That's it. And then social get-outs, this is actually lunch and dinner. It's only lunch and dinner. We are in Luxembourg. It's a fact here. People not eat at home, so they made it possible. The form that you have to fill in to be allowed to have lunch or dinner outside does not require a validation. So you just need to fill in the information, but you have also to give them the address. So if you want to get out and eat at some places where you are not supposed to be, well, too bad. And they can always control. Controls happen very seldom, and usually it's on request of the employer. But if they check and you are not answering to the rules, they may ask you to reimburse all the days where you were sick. So it's very important to validate those rules. So this is, to repeat, this is the whole process. Go to your doctor, go to STM or ASTF to get validated, get counsel. It's very important. It's really a relief to be able to go every day or every week or every other week to a psychologist. It needs to be a good one. If you don't feel comfortable with a specialist of the mental health, switch. Don't stay with somebody that doesn't fit. Okay. And then, qualité de soutien. So it's what you get from your friends and your family is very, very, very important. Okay. So don't try to stay alone at home. If you think that you need to be helped by friends, call them, and eventually one of them will come speak to you because you are not allowed to go home, to go away, out. So, and organize. Well, once you feel better, because usually for the few first weeks and sometimes months, you will just sleep, eat, and look at the ceiling. Okay. Once this period is done, try to seek contact with other people. Enfin, this is for me. I mean, not everybody is the same, obviously, but I think this is important because then you get feedback. You know, you get feedback and you get a sense of how better you are day by day. So this is actually what happened in the tech. You know, in a level of importance. You know, quality is going down. The deadlines become more and more unattainable, not realistic. And in itself, when you get a date that is not realistic, and you say it's not realistic, and the project manager or whatever says you, yeah, but do whatever you can, it's a stress in itself, okay? Then you have understaffed team. Then, of course, for those who have on-calls, well, it becomes 1 week out of 2. Or sometimes even worse. And then sometimes you get in a conflict of values. So what you expect from your work and what your work gives you, because when it gets there, it's all the time. You know, if you have a values conflict and that you cannot find a relief somewhere else, you cannot retrieve your energy. You are always at the top and cannot recover. This is something that I did not tackle. If they are freelancer or independent, I don't know the process because I know it's very, very different. It's very, very different in each country. So I don't know if you need to take an insurance, but it's better to get informed before it happens. So it depends if you live in Luxembourg or not. Try to have information about insurances in case of sickness. Try to see if the CNS can cover you in case of burnout or not, in which, even if you have to pay extra money, I don't know how it works. And of course, you get even more vulnerable when you are independent, because if you are sick, you don't get money. So you will tend to stay more. And if you increase the tension, when it breaks, it takes longer to recover. Prevention is precious, is key, okay? So do the test of Maslach yourself. Eventually, if you feel nervous or if you feel something, do the test to see where you're at. And even if you are not in the danger zone or even middle zone, you know that if you start going up, that you have to do something, okay? So it's better to be sooner than later because the recovery time is way longer. Intuition, trust yourself. You know, if you feel that something is not going right, go and do the work to make sure that it's burnout or something else. And by the way, I'm speaking about burnout, but it can be anything else that is related to mental health and related to work. It can be harassment. It can be many other things. Normally, I remove the slides. And here, do the test now. So actually, this QR code works and will bring you to the Maslach test. So if you want to take it, I don't know if it's big enough. Otherwise, you just tell me and I will give you the link later on. All right? Maslach test is Maslach, Dr. Maslach is, or maybe she was a psychologist, is a doctor that actually studied burnout and created that test to evaluate the level. And the last level is risk of suicide. This is the very last level. Okay, but luckily for me, I was far from that. Okay, this is again a repetition, but my time is up. So I prefer to be ready to receive questions. If anybody of you has questions, my presentation is finished. Questions? Questions, maybe in French or English?
Coucou Jean.
Not in Chinese.
During this meantime, I saw you work together, not in the same team, but in the same environment. What you're describing here is loneliness. How can your colleague, coworker help you and go with you through this thing? How can we help if we can help?
Well, it's a very good question. Actually, the middle management plays a very important role. Of course, because they can serve if they are concerned and bienveillant. So if they are concerned, they will work as a buffer. Okay, so they will take the stress and try to dissipate it so that you feel it less and less. But usually they are not heard, and they don't have the power to change anything. So it will still go on. So this is the first layer of the safety guard, and for the rest, nobody can do anything. No, it's well, you can. The problem is that it's linked to an environment. So once you are out of the environment, normally the stress goes away. Okay, so of course, if you are in a sports team, even in a sports team, and that you are buying time outside of your work to release the stress and to reclaim the energy, it will help. Because this is what my therapist told me, is actually burnout is when the stress goes high and it doesn't have time to go back to normal before getting high again. So you don't have time to recover. So if you can, in weekends, sometimes, of course, when you are on calls and there is no time and so on, even in the weekend, you cannot, recover. And I think the most important is maybe more the family, that when you go home and you discover that you are trending towards a burnout, it's speak at home to the people who you live with, that they be a bit, kinder or understanding. It's not easy, I know, but it's not always easy. But this is better than friends and colleagues, because actually the colleagues, okay, they can go and have a drink with you, you can speak, but I don't think it will really help. But globally, I had a very great understanding of the situation from my colleagues and my direct management, which is very good when you come back. Yes?
Yeah. As manager, how can you recognize any of your guys as symptoms, or because it feels like very personal?
Yes, it is very personal, and for instance, speaking about me, it was almost impossible to see it. I mean, even me, I was not really aware that it was that. And you try to play a role, and be nice and don't bother others with your decline, and you always think that it comes from you. So it's very hard. But what you can do maybe is regularly, check out people personally, one-on-one, every month or every other month. It depends on the stress that you are living, and making sure that they know that you will listen to them, whatever the upper management thinks, so that they can find a confident, that they can speak to you, that at least you can hear what they have to say. But even as a manager, you don't have any power to decrease the on-calls, or it needs to happen, and this is a problem. Okay, that's it.